welcome to this Arnold Clifford knitwear tutorial on weaving in your ends in Intarsia. This is part of our Little Lessons in Intarsia series designed to accompany the Modern Daily Knitting Field Guide No. 16 Painterly. This lovely collection is packed full of beautiful designs from Kaffe Fassett, the absolute master of colour work, and I hope that these tutorials will give you all the skills you need to tackle any of the projects in the book. I'm going to show you today how I weave in ends in Intarsia. The first few stitches in any colour in Intarsia can look quite untidy when you first join the yarn in, and it's amazing what a difference it makes once the ends are woven in. So here's the first stitch in that turquoise colour, and it's quite uneven in comparison with the rest of the knitting. But weaving in the ends is going to tidy that all right up again. I'm now on the wrong side of the work, and I've thread the end of this yarn onto my tapestry needle. This was the stitch in the turquoise that was a bit loosey-goosey on the front, and so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to tighten it up gently. I'm going to check how it looks on the front to make sure that I haven't over-tightened it. And you know, sometimes the stitch next door needs a little bit of fussing as well, so you can just pull any slack along. There we go. And once I'm happy with how that stitch is looking on the right side of the work, I'm then going to come along on the back, and this side of the stitch isn't actually currently attached to anything. That yarn is just coming out of the bottom here. So if it had been kind of like running yarn, if it hadn't been a brand new yarn, it would have been attached into the bright pale green stitch next to it. So that's what I'm going to do first of all to start. I'm just going to hook it up behind that purl bump just to anchor it in to the adjoining stitch. And then I'm going to run the yarn up along the join. A top tip I had fairly early on when I was looking at Intarsia for the first time is to, as far as possible, always try to weave your ends in to the same colour, because that way if there is any peeping through of the colour that you're weaving in, then it's not going to show up because it's already in that colour. So I'm going to weave it in up that join there. I go a tiny bit further. So you can see I've run all the way up and down along that nice looped join between the two colours. And then I'm going to pull the end up. And check the tension, always give it a little tug, make sure you haven't over tightened it. Again, go back, look at the right side, check you're happy with how that's looking. To me that's looking absolutely gorgeous. And then I do find that it's quite a nice idea to lock the yarn back in the direction that it was going in, because that can just extra make sure that you don't lose that end, that it doesn't pop out, come undone at all. If you take it back through 180 degrees back in the opposite direction, then it's definitely not going to go anywhere. So just for a few stitches, I'm going to run it back in. You can do this with a crochet hook if you've got a really short end, but if your end is medium short, then you can thread your needle into the stitches like I've done there, then thread your end through it and pull through. There we go. Make sure it's not tight at that end where it's bent. Go and give it another tug, make sure you're happy with it. And then all that remains is to snip the end off. And I always cut it so that there's a little bit of loose yarn there. If you cut it too tight, it can pop through to the right side, but if you leave a little end, there's no way it's going anywhere. And all I have to do now is repeat that process with my other ends. I do hope you found it useful to see how I weave in ends for Intarsia. Obviously, you can also weave them in horizontally along the joins as well as vertically. If you've enjoyed this video tutorial, then do click the button at the bottom here to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we've got a link up top here to take you over to our online shop where you'll find lots of techniques-based books and yarns. Thanks ever so much for watching. Bye-bye.